Welcome to Let's Talk Passion and Purpose, the podcast where we explore the journeys of creators, leaders, and visionaries who've turned their passions into purpose. Join your host, Nicole Thomas, as we dive into inspiring stories, uncover strategies for success, and help you take the next step toward a life filled with meaning. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Passion and Purpose with Nicole Thomas. In this episode, I sit down with visual artist Maggie Douglas. In this episode, we talk about Maggie's inspiring journey from working in graphic design to becoming a full-time visual artist. She shares how nature influences her work, how she uses art as a tool for healing and connection, and what it's like to create art for public spaces. We also dive into her creative process, the role of community in her projects, and the legacy she hopes her work will leave behind. A little more about Maggie. Maggie is a visual artist based in Des Moines, Iowa. She graduated from Loras College in Dubuque, Iowa with a BA in art and digital design. She has worked as a graphic designer while developing her art practice, and her body of work consists of abstract, mixed media pieces on canvas, as well as large-scale murals. She creates as a form of self-guided therapy. Working on art gives her a space to escape reality and focus on something outside of herself. Her work has been shown throughout Iowa at the Octagon Center for the Arts, the Dubuque Museum of Art, the Cedar Rapids Art Museum, the Iowa State Fair, and the Polk County Heritage Gallery. In 2024, she painted a mural along the bike trail for West Des Moines Parks and Recreation and a bench for Waukee Parks and Recreation. In 2021, she was selected to paint a mural at Lauridsen Skatepark in Des Moines. Her work has won Best in Show from the Iowa Exhibited Show at the Polk County Heritage Gallery in 2024, first place in mixed media at the Iowa State Fair, Juried Art Show in 2023, and the Veronika Ruedenberg Mixed Media Award at the Octagon Center for the Arts in 2022. To learn more about Maggie and her work, follow her on Instagram at mdouglas.studio or visit her website at mdouglas-studio.com. Maggie, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
So excited to be here.
I'm always curious to hear about early beginnings of someone's journey. Can you share with us how you started in art and design?
Yeah, so I have kind of grown up around art my entire life. My mother is an artist, and so she taught art in our basement, and I learned a lot from her, and so I kind of had that role model growing up, and as a kid, I was really always looking for creative outlets. I was in dance and choir, and I loved like magazines and fashion and interior design. And so when I was looking at what to do for college, I knew I wanted something creative. And so I kind of went that design route, and I ended up going to school for art and digital design. So that program was kind of a mix of studio art and graphic design. And so I kind of got both of those throughout my 4 years. And in my art classes, I kind of realized that it wasn't just kind of a building block for design. It was really something that I was becoming passionate about. And specifically in my painting classes, that was kind of the first time that I had experienced working on abstract art. I feel like up until then, most classes are focused on realism and kind of getting the drawing perfect and kind of that sort of drive for the grade. And with abstract art, I found such freedom in it. And so that's really where I kind of realized that painting was something that I wanted to continue doing. And after college, I started a design job, and I continued painting on the side. And especially because my design job it just wasn't fulfilling that creative itch that I had. So I kind of had this painting thing on the side. And then 7 years ago, I started my business and started sharing that work with other people. And here I am 7 years later, still doing it.
Wow.
And I love it.
Wow, that's amazing, Maggie. And what a start, starting off so early. Your mom teaching art in the
Mhm.
basement. and seeking creative outlets. I love that. You were doing so many other things,
Mm-hmm.
choir, and then you just turned back to art and decided to study in school. Did you have a vision when you went into school? Did you say, okay, this is what I want my life to look like?
Yeah, I think that new creativity was always like going to be part of whatever I ended up doing. Um, the main reason that I went into design, I still do design. I still love design. But the main reason that I wanted that was because I knew that was going to be the steady position, the steady career. And art just isn't that all the time. And so I wanted kind of that creative outlet, but still having that position that I could count on. So that's where I ended up.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you wanted stability in the
Mhm.
design or produce stability, but your heart was with focusing on creative outlet and then moving into abstract.
Mhm.
Then you shifted and started your own business 7 years ago. What caused the change? What was the pivotal moment that caused the shift?
I think it really was kind of taking it from being this private thing that I would do just for myself. And um, I was showing at a pop-up art show, and hearing the responses from people there, the audience kind of connecting with my work and in a way that I had never really imagined, because it just felt like very personal and just something that I loved, and it didn't really matter that much what other people thought about it. And so like
Mhm.
hearing that it like resonates with other people, that kind of got me into this idea of, well, I can continue doing this and turn it into a business where I can, then put that back into investing in this practice.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Can you tell me about the medium? What medium do you use for your artwork?
I get this question a lot. I work in acrylic. That is my main paint that I use. But I consider my art mixed media art. Because in addition to paint, I add stitching, I add collage, I add drawing, pastel. And so I enjoy just playing around with all of these different types of mediums, that freedom, just allowing myself to be drawn to whatever that medium may be.
I've heard you mention freedom more than once. So it sounds as if
Mhm.
having that freedom to create without any restriction is very important to you.
Definitely.
And it definitely comes across in your work. When you create your work, what does that creative process look like?
So I bring a lot of inspiration from nature to my work. And so over time I've developed a lot of techniques that I like to use that uh mimic natural processes. I've realized that honing in on not just nature, but the movements of nature, the natural forces like gravity or erosion or cohesion, where water kind of combines and pools, and um, just like those types of natural movements, or wind is also a big inspiration, and how that moves through things. And so I like to take that inspiration and kind of apply it to how I actually work on my canvas. And so the physical act of it is I lay my canvas down on a flat surface and work from above. And so that allows for the paint that I use, I water it down a lot. And so that it allows it to not just run off, but it pools and it spreads in more natural ways and movements that are akin to how water would move in nature, and how it would become a stream, or it would spread on a flat surface. And so it creates these very natural and organic patterns and textures and shapes that I couldn't really create by hand. It's a lot of it is due to the way that the paint and the water dries on the canvas.
Yeah. And it's a natural part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
Since its
Yeah.
nature seems to be a part, it's a theme in your work, that
Mm-hmm.
fluidity and the ebbs and flows of life. It also shows up in your work and how you create your masterpieces. How did you land on nature as a central theme in your work?
That's kind of been something that I've always been drawn to for most of my life. Just as an artist, I noticed it even more, but I just have always noticed kind of like the changes in seasons, the small details in nature. I'm always drawn to those small fine details, um, and so on top of that, as I've grown up in Iowa, and so I've kind of become really familiar with the landscape here. And then when I've traveled around the world in different places, and um, kind of taking in those other landscapes and how they differ, and how there's different movements and different landforms, and um, taking those in, and I've noticed over time that inspiration has ended up on the canvas. And a lot of times it's this unconscious, it forms on the canvas before me rather than me intending to create that. And so it's just kind of so ingrained in me that those memories of these places have kind of come out into my work.
That's fascinating. Your memories are actually embedded in your work. They're expressed
Mhm.
in your work.
Yeah.
What do you want your audience to walk away with? How do you want them to feel when they purchase your work or even view your work?
Think that a lot of times it's intimidating to people because there's not this immediate thing that you recognize within it. Um, and so that can be difficult, because you can't just, group it into this is this thing, and now I understand it. Um, it requires a little bit of just being with the work and letting it kind of wash over you, and feel whatever you may feel from that piece. And so I think with my work in particular, my favorite response is when people come up to me and say, this particular piece really reminds me of this place from my childhood, or this place that my family always goes, or that they granted that I've never been to that place, or I don't have that same memory, but that I just love when there's this connection of this feeling that this art piece may give them, and it, I just love that having that connection with the viewer, even though we are totally different people and have interpreted it in a different way. It still connects with both of us.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That is. And do you feel as if your work has a message, even though it's subject to interpretation? When you're creating, is there a message that you have in mind?
That is a good question. I never intend for a specific message to come out of my work. Well, for most of my work, there is some work that I have that, in um, through my love of nature, I have also, developed a what activism stance in some of my work about climate change and things like that. So some of that work does have more of a direct message, but overall, I would say I don't go into a piece and think this is what the message is going to be. Um, and I really love kind of that leaving that space for the viewer come up with their own conclusion about what this piece may be about. And I intentionally name my pieces something a little bit ambiguous that could lead them to some sort of meaning, but I don't really intend them to, just because I kind of love this idea of I'm not usually trying to spread an agenda of any sort. I'm just allowing them to let that figure out what their connection to that work is by themselves.
And it sounds as if what I'm hearing, it's more organic. Do you create the body of work? You want the viewer to just take what they need and take what they see based on their own experience. And as you mentioned, no
Definitely.
hidden agenda. It's not propaganda in any shape or form.
Yeah.
You've had an impressive career working as a graphic designer while developing your personal art practice. How have you balanced your professional design work with your personal, more experimental projects?
Mhm. Yes. Since college, I've kind of been balancing these two sides of me and my work. And there's kind of this more artistic, more freedom, just a little bit chaotic side of my art. And then the more structured and just organized side, controlled side with my design. And so a lot of that, they influence each other all the time, definitely. And I think that as far as balancing those two aspects of my life, that could definitely be difficult.
Sounds like there's synergy, but also there are
Mhm.
layers. Also, a lot of
Mm,
layers and complexity to your work. And one
definitely.
side benefits the other side, your other half. Let's talk a little bit about your murals. It's like the one at Lauridsen Skatepark and the recent mural for West Des Moines Parks and Recreation. Those are visually impactful. What draws you to creating public art? And how do you approach engaging the community through your large scale works?
I have always been drawn to how scale in work like just really increases how impactful it is and it just brings in more viewers. And so with size of public art, I think that's something that I really love. Coming from a design aspect, I just love like changing a space by adding this design, this art. Um, and I think by far my favorite part of public art is that it is public. It is to be shared by that community. I think that a lot of times art is in certain places like galleries and museums and places that aren't as accessible. They may not feel as comfortable for certain people who just don't feel like they're a part of that art world. Um, and so I love that public art brings that to everyone in that community and allows them to even claim that as part of their community. And I just think that is so important for the community.
I can hear in your voice, and I can also see it in your face,
Mm.
how important it is giving back to community. How has community played in the evolution of your artwork?
I would say the community, it's kind of two different communities, the artist community and then the community of viewers and my audience. And the artist community is really wonderful. It's in Des Moines. I have a studio here at Mainframe Studios, which is a large conglomerate of studios. So there's a lot of artists in this community, and I really appreciate being surrounded by all of these creative people and being able to learn from them. And that has been incredible. They have been so impactful on just encouraging me to continue doing this work. Um, when people are connecting with my work, it just makes me realize that it's more important than I really imagined it would be. Um, and that doing things like creating paintings are actually important for the community. And um, especially right now, I just think that there's a lot of people searching for joy And I think that
Oh,
even though I'm not, changing the world, like just bringing a little bit of joy to people has and seeing that in my audience has been really encouraging for my work.
oh, I tell you, just the topic of joy during this climate, it's so important. And the fact that you're able to use your artwork to bring a little bit of joy to different communities is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You've won numerous awards, including Best in Show and first place for mixed media. How has this recognition shaped your confidence as an artist, and how do you continue to grow and evolve your work despite the success you've achieved?
It's always such an honor to be recognized with awards like that. And it's definitely improved my confidence in my work. Um, and has helped me to continue pushing my work even farther. I find most encourages me and boosts my confidence in my work is just speaking with people, both artists and those who enjoy my work, speaking with them about what they find, um, what they enjoy about my work, what they may not enjoy so much about my work, things like that. I can have those conversations and grow from them.
It sounds like the impact just keeps you going and it
Mhm.
fuels you and your confidence. You know, I've heard you mention in the past that creating art serves as a form of self-guided therapy for you. Can you share how this process helps you connect with yourself and why this therapeutic aspect of art is just so important in your life?
Mhm. Yeah, when I am creating, it's definitely this form of self therapy. I kind of get lost in this flow state, this state of just fully being immersed in my work and not being bothered by outside whatever that may be, whatever is going on outside of the studio. And so I think that that is part of a main driver of why I continue doing my work is that it's something that I don't find anywhere else in doing anything else. It's this artistic process that really just draws me in and helps me to decompress and just forget about everything else for a little bit.
Oh, that's wonderful. Art does have a way of helping us process and navigate just life's challenges and all the
Mhm.
distractions. I want to also go back to your connection with nature and humanity. How do you
Mhm.
hope your work resonates with people in terms of reconnecting them with their own memories of nature?
Yeah, in talking about my process and this like flow state, and I think that I see this deep connection with nature because I believe that creating is one of the like most natural things that humans can do. And so I think with my audience, I kind of want to convey that they too are this natural being and that they too have this connection that all of us have to nature. Um, and so when I was speaking about how people will come up and say, this piece reminds me of this specific thing every time, and it's always something from nature, whether it be a landscape or an animal or a specific flower or plant. It's it's always something natural, and to me, it really resonates that there is this connection that all of us have, and that connection is as natural beings. We all have this innate human sense and this innate draw to nature.
Mhm. I believe that as well, that we do have this innate draw to nature, and we're just all connected. We are,
Mhm.
whether we believe it or not. Do you have any advice for anyone who is seeking to become more observant and present in nature based on your experience as an artist?
Yes. Um, that's I think that's something that I have had for a lot of my life, and so I think it's difficult to step into that, especially right now with the world the way it is and everyone, staring at their screens for hours a day. And But really it is just stepping back from that, um and I have to tell myself this all the time, like, you don't need to spend so much time looking at your phone or watching television or, but, stepping out into nature for, a walk and just taking time to notice the small details, those small joys. It's spring, and so I walk around my yard every day and notice this every all these buds are starting to come out and how much, the tulips are starting to peek out. And so just like these small things that, I walk by every day and um kind of focusing in on that, especially like in spring, that new life and that kind of hope that comes with that is something that I'm really noticing a lot right now. And so I think that's a good place to start, is just noticing the little things that you may walk by in your everyday life, that you just hadn't taken the time to notice before.
Love that. You just notice those little things. And I love what you said about focusing on new life and hope.
Mhm.
When we're focusing on new life, sometimes it makes it easier to start seeing new things, things that we weren't even
Yeah.
aware of that were there all along. Over the course of your careers, what is the best advice you've received?
I think that's something that I still today need to, tell myself. But I think with any form of art, but specifically for me, just trying to do the work as much as I can, and just digging into to that and not getting distracted by the other things within my, I have a lot of things for my business I need to do. I have to post to social media, but like the most important thing is just doing the actual work, the actual art making. And that is also my favorite part of everything that I do in the studio. But sometimes it is hard to just set aside those other things that may have deadlines and just focus on doing the art, and other things will come from that.
But create sounds like you have to create, and then everything
Mhm.
else will follow.
Yes.
Many listeners of this podcast are creatives who are seeking to align their passion with purpose. What advice would you give to someone who's still trying to figure out how to navigate their creative journey?
Yeah. I think that I would say I too am still navigating my creative journey. We all are. Um, but I think that again, there's a lot of kind of distractions that can keep you from doing the work, um, and a lot of failures that may come in at the beginning, and just learning from those failures, and failing forward, and you know figuring out what your direction may be, what your honing in on that passion and seeing where that points you. I think that it's yeah, eliminating those distractions, and again just doing the work, just focusing on what makes you happy and what you're passionate about. And then good things will come.
And then good things will come. I like the fact that you said failing forward,
Mhm.
because sometimes we feel that when we fail, that it's epic, that it's the end. It becomes really difficult to keep going. And I know that every creative path comes with its own set of challenges. Were there moments where you struggled to keep going? And if so, how did you push through those difficult times while staying true to your passion?
Definitely. Well, um, applied to many art shows, many, grants, residencies. There's just a lot of things that I have not, been chosen for. And that's tough every time. But for every time I, take that and use it to push myself further, to figure out if that is the right direction for me, if I want to try again the next year, or sometimes if I don't get something, I reevaluate and say, you know what, that actually wasn't for me. It wasn't the right thing for me. And so I would say all of those failures are truly what I learned most from and have directed me on this path of where I am with my career now.
Mhm.
So I would say I'm grateful for those failures because they have kind of shown me where I should go with my work.
Mhm. Almost directing your path. If you had the chance to speak with your younger self, what would you say?
Oh, good question. I think I would say that you will find something that you're passionate about, and that thing will push you out of your comfort zone in the best ways, and do anything and everything you can to stretch yourself because it will be worth it. That's something that I've always struggled with, and there's a lot of things that I've said yes to and not felt totally comfortable in that, but I know that it's going to be good for my art and good for me and my growth.
That's powerful. Saying yes and stepping out of your comfort zone. Stepping out of your comfort zone and just being able to push forward with courage and embracing whatever comes next. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh man. Oh, Nicole, you always have such good questions.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Um, I think I'm still trying to figure that out. I would love for my work to um just I I love when people who truly connect deeply with my work will purchase it and live with it and value it every single day because I think that that is something that's so special to be able to be a part of something that brings people joy every single day. And so I think like that's having that be um, something that will live beyond me, my art, something that can bring other people joy, um, and something that people connect with. I think it would be a wonderful legacy for me.
Yeah, I think it will be too. I'm excited because as you continue to evolve as an artist, there's so many themes or techniques you're excited to explore. What's next for you in terms of your creative journey?
That is what I'm trying to figure out, as always. I have had a few of those rejections lately, and so still seeing what's next. But as far as my work, I've kind of been in a good place of progressing and bringing in new ideas, new techniques, um, and so certain things that I have that kind of goals and things that I'm pushing towards. I would love to bring my work into more of a 3D sense somehow, and even moving into to installations. I think it's kind of this um, this love of scaling up work and kind of bringing in that mural aspect, but also bringing in more of my studio art, my art on canvas, and um, combining those to create an experience for people to immerse themselves in. Um, that's something that I really am hoping to work towards in the next few years. So I think that's where I'm going so far. That's what I've got figured out.
It sounds exciting. But before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners? Any final thoughts or words of inspiration for those looking to find their passion and purpose?
I would say that um, finding your passion is so important that it just can't be found through perfection. You don't need to be perfect about finding your passion and your purpose, but just doing it and figuring it out along the way and failing and then trying again. It's so worth it.
That's powerful. Maggie, thank you so much for being on the show. And I hope you'll join us again.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you for joining Let's Talk Passion and Purpose. I hope you're leaving inspired and ready to elevate your journey. Remember to subscribe, rate, and share if you enjoyed today's episode. Stay connected, follow your passion, live purposefully, and we'll see you next time.